Ladies and gentlemen, friends and dreamers, today we are going to talk about one of the greatest books ever written on personal success, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book is not just a book, it is a roadmap to success, a guide that has helped millions of people turn their dreams into reality. Since it was first published in 1937, it has sold more than 100 million copies worldwide. And even though almost a century has passed, the lessons inside it are still as fresh and powerful today as they were when Napoleon Hill first wrote them. Why? Because success does not change with time. Human dreams, human fears, and human desires remain the same. Technology may change, the world may move faster, but the principles of achievement remain timeless. Napoleon Hill spent more than 25 years studying successful people. He interviewed Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, and many more legends of industry. He asked them, what makes a person successful? And then he gave us the answers in the form of 13 principles. These principles are not theories. They are not guesses. They are tested truths, proven by the lives of the most successful men and women of his time. And here's the best part. These principles are not reserved for the rich or the powerful. They are for anyone. Whether you are a student, a worker, a farmer, a shopkeeper, or an entrepreneur, these principles can help you change your life. So today, let's walk through these principles together, but in simple, friendly words. My goal is not to teach you like a professor. My goal is to talk to you like a friend, someone who wants to see you succeed. Are you ready? Let's begin with the first principle. Key principle 1, desire. Napoleon Hill starts with the most powerful word in success, desire. Now, let me ask you, what do you really want in life? Not what your parents want, not what society wants, but what you truly, deeply desire. Because every success story begins with desire. Without it, nothing starts. With it, everything becomes possible. Desire is not just wishing. It is not daydreaming. It is not saying, oh, I'd like to be rich someday, or I hope I get lucky. No. Desire is a burning fire inside you. It is when you say, I will have this. I must have this. And I will never stop until I get it. Napoleon Hill tells the story of Edwin C. Barnes. Barnes was a poor man. He didn't have money. He didn't have education. But he had a desire. He wanted to become a business partner of Thomas Edison, the great inventor. People laughed at him. How could a poor man, with no connections, become a partner of Edison? But Barnes had something stronger than doubt. He had desire. He traveled to Edison's office, asked for a chance, and started working in a small job with little pay. For years, he worked quietly, waiting for the right opportunity. And when Edison launched a new invention, Barnes grabbed the chance to sell it. He sold it so successfully that Edison made him a partner. Barnes had nothing when he started. But he had desire, and desire turned nothing into everything. So, the first lesson is clear. Backhand index pointing right. If you want to succeed, you must have a clear, burning desire. Napoleon Hill even gives a formula. Decide exactly what you want. Decide what you will give in return. Set a deadline. Write down your goal clearly. Read it every day. This is not magic. This is focus. When you know what you want, and you remind yourself every day, your mind starts to work for you. Your thoughts become sharper. Your actions become stronger. Your path becomes clearer. Friends, many people fail in life not because they lack talent, but because they lack desire. Their dream is weak. They change goals every week. They quit too soon. But successful people, they lock onto their goal like an eagle locks onto its prey. They do not let go. That is desire. So, ask yourself today, what do I really want? Write it down. Make it clear. and let that desire burn so strong that nothing can put it out. Key principle 2. Faith. Now, desire alone is not enough. You must also have faith. Faith is the belief that what you desire will come true. It is the confidence that even when you don't see the results yet, they are on the way. Think about it. Desire is like planting a seed. But faith is the water and sunlight that makes that seed grow. Without faith, your desire dries up. With faith, it blossoms. Napoleon Hill explains something powerful here. Faith can be built. You don't have to be born with it. You can create it. How? By repeating positive thoughts to yourself every single day. By telling your mind, I believe I can. I believe I will. This is called auto-suggestion, which we will discuss later. But for now, remember this: what you tell yourself, you start to believe. And what you believe, you start to achieve. Let me give you an example. When Henry Ford decided to build the V8 engine, his engineers told him it was impossible. They said, "It cannot be done." Ford simply replied, "Do it anyway." For months, the engineers tried and failed. But Ford kept his faith. He believed it was possible. And finally, they succeeded. What made the difference? Faith. Faith in the unseen. Faith in the possibility. Now, you may ask, but what if I fail? Let me tell you, everyone fails at some point. Edison failed more than 10,000 times before he perfected the light bulb. But he had faith. And faith kept him going until success came. Faith is not saying, I will win only if it is easy. Faith is saying, I will win no matter how long it takes, no matter how many times I fall. And here is the beauty: when you combine desire and faith, your mind becomes unstoppable. You wake up with energy. You move forward with courage. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. So the second lesson is this: backhand index pointing right, build unshakable faith in yourself and in your dream. Even when others doubt you, do not doubt yourself. Principle 3. Auto-suggestion. Now that we have talked about desire and faith, let's move to the next principle: auto-suggestion. Don't worry, the word sounds technical, but the idea is simple. Auto-suggestion means feeding your mind with the thoughts you want it to believe. It is like planting seeds in the soil of your subconscious mind. Here's the truth: your mind is always listening day and night. Whatever you repeat to yourself, your mind starts to accept as truth. If you keep saying, I can't do this, I'm not smart, I'm unlucky, your mind will believe it, and you will act that way. But if you keep saying, I can do this, I will succeed, my future is bright, your mind will believe that too, and you will act with confidence. Napoleon Hill said, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Auto-suggestion is the tool to make your mind conceive and believe. So how do you practice it? Hill gives a practical method. Write down your definite goal. For example, I will earn $50,000 a year by running my own successful business. Write down what you will give in return. Maybe it is hard work, study, service to people. Repeat this goal to yourself every morning and every night with emotion, with belief. Imagine yourself already living that success. See it, feel it, taste it. This may sound simple, but it is powerful. Because repetition programs the subconscious mind. Think about advertising. Why do companies show you the same ad again and again? Because repetition makes you believe in their product. Your own mind works the same way. Repeat a thought often enough, and it becomes a belief. One man who used this principle was Muhammad Ali, the boxing champion. He kept repeating, I am the greatest. He said it before he ever became champion. People laughed. But he repeated it until he believed it, and then he lived it. Friends, your words shape your world. So speak to yourself like a winner. Plant positive seeds every day, and your mind will grow them into reality. Key principle 4. Specialized knowledge. The next principle is specialized knowledge. Knowledge is power, but only when it is organized and applied. General knowledge, no matter how much you have, will not make you rich. It is specialized knowledge that creates success. Think about it. A professor may know thousands of facts, but still struggle financially. On the other hand, a mechanic may have deep knowledge about fixing engines, and he can build a thriving business. Why? Because the mechanic's knowledge is specialized and useful. Napoleon Hill explains, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know enough in one area, or gather people who know, and then use that knowledge toward a definite goal. Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men of his time, didn't know everything about steel making. But he surrounded himself with a team of experts. He had the vision, and he used their specialized knowledge to build a steel empire. So here's the lesson. Backhand index pointing right, don't waste your time trying to know everything. Focus on what matters for your goal. If you want to succeed in business, learn about business. If you want to succeed in farming, learn about farming. If you want to succeed in writing, learn about writing. And if you don't have all the knowledge you need, that's okay. Build a team. Find mentors. Hire experts. Create a mastermind group, which we will discuss later. Remember, school never ends. Success requires continuous learning. The world changes fast, and the people who keep learning are the ones who stay ahead. So ask yourself, what specialized knowledge do I need to reach my dream? Start learning it today. Key principle 5. Imagination. Now we come to one of the most exciting principles, imagination. Napoleon Hill says, imagination is the workshop of the mind. Everything created in this world first began as an idea in someone's imagination. Look around you right now. The chair you sit on. The phone in your hand. The building you live in. The car on the street. All of it was once just a thought in someone's mind. Thomas Edison imagined the light bulb before he invented it. The Wright brothers imagined flying before they built the first airplane. Steve Jobs imagined the iPhone before it became real. Imagination turns dreams into reality. Now, Hill explains 2 types of imagination. Synthetic imagination, when you take old ideas and rearrange them into something new. For example, combining a phone and a camera. Creative imagination, when new ideas come directly from your subconscious mind, or what Hill calls infinite intelligence. This often happens when you are inspired or when your mind is calm. Both types are powerful. But here's the key, you must use your imagination daily. Most adults stop using imagination after childhood. They stop dreaming. They only follow routine. But successful people keep imagining, keep dreaming, keep creating. Hill gives a simple exercise. Sit quietly every day and imagine yourself already living your goal. Imagine the house, the business, the lifestyle. See yourself there. Feel it. Live it in your mind. Why? Because your mind does not know the difference between real and imagined experiences. When you imagine success strongly, your mind accepts it as possible and pushes you to act toward it. Friends, imagination is the preview of your future. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So don't limit your imagination. Don't say, that's impossible. Ask instead, how can I make this possible? That question is the birthplace of innovation. Principle 6, organized planning. So far, we have desire, faith, auto-suggestion, knowledge, and imagination. But let's be honest, none of these matter much if you don't take organized action. That's where organized planning comes in. Napoleon Hill is very clear, no plan equals no success. A dream without a plan is just a wish. Think of it this way, you can't build a house without a blueprint. You can't run a successful business without a strategy. and you can't reach your goals without a plan. But Hill doesn't say your first plan has to be perfect. In fact, he says most first plans fail. That's okay. Failure is not the end, it's feedback. When one plan doesn't work, replace it with another. Keep improving. Keep adjusting. So how do you create organized plans? Form a mastermind group. Surround yourself with people whose knowledge and skills can help you. Don't try to do everything alone. Write your plan clearly. What steps will you take? When will you take them? Who will help you? Be flexible. If the plan doesn't work, change it, not your goal. Take action immediately. A plan that just sits on paper is useless. Hill tells the story of Henry Ford again. When he decided to mass-produce cars, experts laughed. They said it wasn't practical. But Ford had a plan, and he kept working it until it became reality. Today, the world drives cars because of that vision and planning. Friends, the difference between a dreamer and a doer is planning. Dreamers talk. Doers plan and act. So the sixth principle is this. Backhand index pointing right, organize your ideas into a clear plan, and then put that plan into action without delay. Key principle.
Come back to Legacy Aweken TV.
Delay. Key principle 7. Decision. The seventh principle is decision. Napoleon Hill says, successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them quickly. Think about that. How many times have you seen someone hesitate for months, unable to decide, and then once they finally do, they give up after 1 week? That is the habit of failure. Great leaders, on the other hand, are decisive. They don't waste time in endless hesitation. They gather enough information, they trust their judgment, and then they decide. This doesn't mean they never make mistakes. They do. But they would rather act and learn than sit frozen in doubt. Napoleon Hill studied hundreds of successful people. Almost all of them had this quality, the courage to decide quickly. Think about your own life. How many opportunities have you lost because you couldn't decide? Maybe you wanted to start a business, but you waited too long. Maybe you wanted to learn a skill, but you kept delaying. Maybe you wanted to invest, but fear held you back. Indecision is the thief of opportunity. Let me give you an example. During the American Revolution, the leaders had to decide whether to declare independence from Britain. It was a huge risk. If they failed, they could be executed. But they made the decision quickly and firmly. That decision changed the course of history. Friends, success requires bold decisions. If you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll wait forever. So here's the seventh principle. Backhand index pointing right. Develop the habit of making firm decisions. Don't let fear or doubt hold you back. Key principle 8. Persistence. Now we come to one of the most important principles of all, persistence. Desire, faith, planning, decision, all of these are useless if you quit at the first obstacle. Success is never a straight road. It is filled with failures, delays, rejections, and setbacks. The only way to win is to keep going. Napoleon Hill says, without persistence, you will be defeated. With persistence, you will win. Let me give you a story. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, was rejected over 1,000 times before someone agreed to sell his fried chicken recipe. Imagine being told no 1,000 times. Most people would quit after 10. But Sanders persisted, and today his recipe is known worldwide. Another story is Thomas Edison. We all know he failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he said, "I did not fail. I just found 10,000 ways that did not work." That is persistence. Persistence is not stubbornness. Stubbornness is repeating the same mistake. Persistence is trying again with better effort, better planning, and stronger will. Hill even gives us 4 simple rules for building persistence. A definite purpose backed by burning desire. A definite plan backed by continuous action. A mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences. A friendly alliance with people who encourage you to keep going. Friends, the truth is simple: most people give up too early. They stop when success was just around the corner. Persistence is the bridge between failure and victory. So the 8th principle is this: backhand index pointing right, never quit on your dream. Be willing to keep trying until you win. Principle 9, the mastermind. Napoleon Hill introduces a very powerful idea called the mastermind. Now, what is a mastermind? It is not about intelligence alone. A mastermind is a group of people working together in harmony toward a definite purpose. Hill explains that no one becomes successful alone. Behind every great leader, there is a team. Behind every fortune, there are partnerships. Behind every achievement, there is cooperation. He uses Andrew Carnegie as an example. Carnegie, who built the steel empire, said very openly that his secret was his mastermind group, a council of dozens of men with different skills and knowledge who worked together with him. Carnegie didn't know everything himself, but he knew how to surround himself with people who did. So how does the mastermind work? Hill describes it like this: when 2 or more minds work together in harmony, a third mind is created, an invisible force, like a greater intelligence that helps them. Ideas flow more freely. Energy increases. Problems are solved faster. Think about it like electricity. 1 battery has power. 2 batteries connected together have more. And when you connect many batteries, you create a powerful current. That's the mastermind. Now, how do you apply this in your life? Choose people who share your vision or values. Meet regularly. Discuss ideas openly and honestly. Support each other, encourage each other, and hold each other accountable. Your mastermind can be 2 people or 20. It can be friends, business partners, mentors, or colleagues. The key is harmony. Without harmony, there is no power. So the 9th principle is this: backhand index pointing right, build a mastermind group, a circle of support and intelligence that multiplies your strength. Key principle 10, the subconscious mind. Now we move to one of the most mysterious and powerful principles, the subconscious mind. Hill calls it the connecting link between your conscious mind, what you think, and infinite intelligence, the universal source of ideas and inspiration. In simple words, your subconscious mind is like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant, positive or negative, will grow there. If you feed it fear, doubt, and negativity, it will grow weeds that choke your success. If you feed it faith, confidence, and clear goals, it will grow opportunities and strength. The subconscious mind never sleeps. It is always working. That's why sometimes you wake up with a solution to a problem your subconscious was working on it while you were asleep. So how do you control your subconscious? Hill says, through repetition and emotion. When you repeat your goal with passion, auto-suggestion, your subconscious mind accepts it. When you imagine your success vividly, imagination, your subconscious mind starts to believe it. When you act with persistence, your subconscious aligns with your desire. This is why affirmations work. This is why visualization works. This is why prayer and meditation work. They are all ways of programming the subconscious. But beware, the subconscious does not judge. It accepts whatever you feed it. That means if you keep telling yourself negative things, your subconscious will believe them too. So guard your mind carefully. Speak words of strength, not weakness. Imagine success, not failure. Friends, your subconscious mind is like a loyal servant. If you give it clear orders, it will find ways to obey. So the 10th principle is this: Backhand index pointing right, direct your subconscious mind with positive thoughts, clear goals, and strong emotions, and it will lead you to success. Key Principle 11. The brain. Napoleon Hill goes even deeper when he talks about the brain. He calls the brain both a sending station and a receiving station of thought. In today's language, we could say the brain is like a powerful radio, always broadcasting signals, always picking up signals. Every thought you think sends out a vibration. And every strong thought from others can be picked up by your brain. That is why sometimes you think of a friend and suddenly they call you. Or why ideas often come when two people are brainstorming together. Hill believed that thoughts are energy and your brain can tune into this energy. The stronger your desire, faith, and persistence, the more powerful your broadcast. Now, how do we use this practically? Surround yourself with positive thinkers. Your brain picks up their energy. Stay away from negative people, because your brain will pick that up too. Focus your thoughts. The clearer and more intense your thoughts, the stronger they are transmitted. Use emotion. Emotion makes your thoughts more powerful. Desire mixed with emotion creates strong vibrations. This is why a mastermind group is so powerful. When multiple brains are working in harmony, their energy multiplies. New ideas appear, inspiration flows, and the group becomes more creative than any single person alone. Modern science now supports what Hill wrote. Neuroscience shows that our brains have mirror neurons that pick up the emotions and thoughts of people around us. In other words, Hill was right, our brains truly influence each other. So the 11th principle is this. Backhand index pointing right, train your brain to think strong, positive, focused thoughts and surround yourself with people whose brains lift you higher. Principle 12. The sixth sense. Napoleon Hill saves one of the most mysterious principles for the end, the sixth sense. We all know the five senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. But Hill speaks of a higher sense, an inner sense, sometimes called intuition. He describes it as the door to the temple of wisdom. It is the ability to receive sudden flashes of insight, gut feelings, or inspiration that guide you toward the right decision. Have you ever had a moment where you just knew something was right or wrong without any logical reason? Maybe you met someone and instantly felt you could trust them. Or you avoided a situation because something inside told you not to go. That is the sixth sense. Hill explains that once you have mastered the earlier principles, desire, faith, autosuggestion, imagination, persistence, and so on, your mind becomes so tuned that the sixth sense begins to work more clearly. He even said that many successful people claimed they were guided by some form of hunch or inner voice. Edison, for example, often relied on flashes of inspiration during his inventions. Henry Ford trusted his gut when making bold business moves. Now, does this mean you should ignore logic? Not at all. Logic and planning are essential. But the sixth sense gives you that extra edge, a whisper of wisdom that logic alone cannot provide. How do you develop it? By quieting your mind through reflection, meditation, or prayer. By listening to your intuition and testing it. By staying connected with your subconscious and feeding it positive, clear goals. Think of the sixth sense as a compass that points you in the right direction once you have prepared your mind. So the 12th principle is this. Backhand index pointing right, trust and develop your intuition. Your sixth sense can guide you to opportunities your eyes cannot yet see. Key Principle 13. Overcoming fear. Now we come to the final principle, overcoming fear. Napoleon Hill ends with this because fear is the greatest enemy of success. You can have desire, faith, knowledge, imagination, planning, decision, persistence, and everything else, but if fear controls you, you will never act. Hill identified 6 basic fears that hold people back. Fear of poverty. Fear of criticism. Fear of ill health. Fear of loss of love. Fear of old age. Fear of death. Think about it. How many dreams die because of these fears? People don't start a business because they fear poverty. They don't speak up because they fear criticism. They don't take risks because they fear failure or rejection. But Hill is clear, fear is just a state of mind. And since your mind can be controlled, fear can be conquered. How? Recognize it. The moment you name your fear, it loses half its power. Replace it with faith. Fear and faith cannot live in the same heart. If you strengthen your faith, your fear will weaken. Take action. Fear grows when you sit still. Action shrinks fear. Surround yourself with courage. Spend time with people who uplift you, not those who feed your fear. Every great success story is also a story of fear overcome. The Wright brothers were laughed at before their first flight. Gandhi faced fear of prison and death, yet he led a movement. Martin Luther King Jr. faced fear daily, yet he spoke boldly. The truth is, fear never completely disappears. But successful people feel fear and move forward anyway. That is courage. So the 13th principle is this. Backhand index pointing right, do not let fear hold you prisoner. Replace it with faith, action, and courage and you will discover freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and dreamers, we have now walked through the 13 timeless principles of success from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Let's take a moment to connect the dots. Desire, the starting point of all achievement. Faith, the belief that turns desire into reality. Autosuggestion, the tool to program your mind with success. Specialized knowledge, focused learning that creates power. Imagination, the workshop where dreams are built. Organized planning, the blueprint that guides action. Decision, the courage to act quickly and firmly. Persistence, the will to never quit. The mastermind, the strength of teamwork and harmony. The subconscious mind, the fertile soil where thoughts grow. The brain, the broadcasting station of ideas and energy. The sixth sense, the intuition that guides you to hidden opportunities. Overcoming fear, the final victory of faith over doubt. Put together, these are not just principles. They are a philosophy of success. They are the timeless laws of achievement that have lifted millions of people from poverty to prosperity, from despair to hope, from mediocrity to greatness. And here's the most important truth. Backhand index pointing right, these principles are not reserved for the rich or the lucky. They are for you. Yes, you. No matter who you are, no matter where you start, no matter how difficult your situation may look, if you apply these principles with persistence and faith, you can transform your life. Napoleon Hill's message is simple but powerful. What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So, my friend, the question is not can you succeed? The question is, will you decide to use these principles and succeed? Success is not built in one day. It is built daily. Every time you choose desire over doubt, faith over fear, action over hesitation, persistence over quitting, you are growing rich, not just in money, but in courage, wisdom, and fulfillment. So let me leave you with this. Don't just read these words. Live them. Don't just dream. Decide. Don't just hope. Act. Because your future is not written yet. It is waiting for you to write it with desire, with faith, with courage, and with persistence. And when you do, you will discover what millions before you have discovered. That success is not an accident. It is a choice. And that choice is in your hands. Thank you.
Stay here. This is Legacy Aweken TV.